Well, hey guys, assalamu alaikum. Welcome back. Farida here with Fashion by Faith Iman, your professional lifestyle consultant, life coach, image consultant, and a cuisine kit creator. I am so happy to be doing this mini series. We just started the Monday Motivational Lives to really pick up our live streams. I already have a plethora of platforms you guys can meet me on if you visit our website at fashioned with an ed/iman.com. We have our app, we have our website, we have Facebook, we have YouTube, which is how we originally started. We have a wonderful series coming out this week with our YouTube turban and hijab series, and just getting into really motivating yourself physically in your fashion, updating your fashion and your style. Assalamu alaikum, welcome. So this is part 2 of the Trigger and Burnout series. You guys can go see the last one, which I just uploaded. We're doing 3 quick series. The first video was about 15 minutes long, so watch it on your own time. This is going to be a few minutes long, just tethering to that, and the next one will be really short, just to make sure that I get this topic out, because it does take a little bit of time to talk about. I have a extensive amount of knowledge on this topic, which is great, which has been through living it, and having those triggers, having the burnout, having the trauma of trying to balance your work and your life, and just overall staying motivated. Yeah, definitely. I work with, I think, by nature, I identify with the high performance woman, the woman who is processing and changing, and always looking to change and looking to better herself, which is a big part of being in the group of burnout. Welcome in. Assalamu alaikum. Like I said in the previous video, you guys can go ahead and see the previous video when you have time. Our motivational Mondays are just to really identify the triggers that we are dealing with and understand how we can fix them. As always, welcome in. So I do deal with a lot of, I think, quote unquote powerhouse women, and one of my missions in life is to make sure that when a woman or man, that anyone I work with, I come across with, is living their best life, living their abundance, understanding their gifts and their talents, but however, they are not going to be, trigger warning, suicidal, sick, mentally disturbed, and successful. So that's a big one for me, because I grew up with a lot of successful people who were highly mentally disturbed, or just didn't have a balance, and it showed in the way their kids grew up. It showed in the way that their relationships feathered out, and especially when you're talking about women who have been socially conditioned to give up one or the other. I don't believe in that personally. I don't believe in giving up your mental health or your family, your maternal instincts, or your relationship statuses for a career, or vice versa. So again, that's pretty much where Fashion by Faith Iman was born from, and why I take my coaching so seriously, and I love what I do. So previously we were just talking about trigger warnings, my triggers, before burnout, before even being triggered. My thing for the last year, especially dealing with COVID, was to identify quickly what are my triggers and how do I cut them out, like before they even start. My first thing, again, living with a family, living with a big family, having people coming in and out of my space as I primarily work from home, as I create from home. Being a creative and being a professional is 2 very distinctive parts of my personality, and it does have nothing to do with social media. I've always been that way. So I need my home space always to be a creative space. I have had over probably 13 businesses. I've had my first business since I was 8 years old. I have always been this way. So I don't like to overexert myself and overexplain myself to my family or friends who know me. They should already know. So what I've done is, again, I've talked about this previously, is we did the block scheduling. I try to make sure that people who are close to me in my circle understand that, like, if I, for example, drop my kids off at the grandparents, they understand that for the next 2 or 3 days that I'm working on such and such. And even if I'm not, because creatives, we have a different way of working. We don't work a 9 to 5. So sometimes they'll see me on Facebook at 10 p.m. and they won't understanding why I'm not answering my phone or something. So I have to make it very clear that even if I'm on Facebook at 10 p.m., I'm typically doing marketing, research. I'm always doing something. I rarely just go through like social media and do nothing all day. It's just that's why I minimize my social media, because I work on different platforms and I need my social media in that time to be blocked off for I can check on things and work on things. So just minimizing how much I communicate has been a big help. A communicative person, if you're a direct person, again, sometimes we get burnt out because we have to constantly be the one resolving social issues. We have to constantly be the one communicating how we feel. We have to constantly communicate for others in our circle, right? So that are kind of maybe lacking in that skill set. So I've kind of pulled it back, whether it just be like a group text that like, hey, I'll be doing this particular day, shooting out my schedule to actually like my family, which is something I have to keep doing. And I need to do it a little bit more often. But last year was a big one because again, I worked full on, started the photography business, and I had to do a lot of traveling, moving, and doing different stuff during COVID. And so it was extremely stressful. So sometimes I felt like my burnout was coming again from overly explaining myself or having to constantly check on, did the person comprehend what I'm saying? Because I have like to move very quickly. And the best way to do that again is to identify what I need, what my businesses need, and what my family needs, of course. And then I will put that in whatever message I feel is easier to convey to the particular people. So for example, my mom, she's like primarily my goat, my go-to, of course. She's awesome. So when I talk to my mom or I need something from my mom, she does not, she can text you all day. She just doesn't receive the text messages as well. So I've learned that I need to stop texting her and call her when I need something because it's just not working out. Instead of being triggered midday as to why she didn't understand that I was coming to pick up the kids or something like that. So it becomes like a little bit less of a chore, a little bit less of a trigger for me when I identify my primary circle, how I'm communicating with them, and getting that across in an effective, clear, and concise way. And I always say this to women, sadly, when I'm coaching and they're trying to start a business or they're trying to get a nonprofit, whatever, off the ground, and they realize that their families are not as supportive or they just don't communicate with them effectively in that way. They're not used to seeing sometimes you transition to a professional, independent person and just communicating effectively like that. So that's one of the things I coach on. So I've seen things happen where if someone says, hey, I need you to make sure dinner's ready, because this weekend I'm not going to be doing that. I'm going to be working on my business, my content, and the group of people around them is just they're not receiving that message, because they're not used to that person delegating a certain way. Where that priority is first, their business is first, their self is first. So sometimes again, it's not that the message you're conveying can be as simple as, hey, I need help with this, but using the tools and technology we have nowadays to communicate effectively with the people who are around you. The older people in my life, of course, prefer phone calls. It doesn't matter how busy they are, or I've comprehended that even though they know how to text, I can just say that I could probably have cut myself a lot of more stress just calling them and being like, hey, we're going to do this and this and this, and let me verify with you, and then following up later on that week before whatever event thing is supposed to happen happens. And it's also out of respect. So I've learned to just go back to calling some of my older relatives because they will say, okay, yeah, we'll do this or we'll do that, and we coordinate something, and then I don't know why they may just forget or they just don't get the text, and it's just been a thing. So that's one of my triggers I've learned. It's just for all of us, just constantly creating a space where we can communicate effectively, concise. If you're working on a project and it's a little bit maybe stressful or you have to work with a team, same thing applies as when you're working towards your family and trying to coordinate your family and your close friends on your lifestyle, your changes and what happens, balancing a career, educational goals, or an entrepreneurial goal. So you need to just understand that really conveying your resolve, your message with resolve and result you want to get is an effective way to cut out a lot of triggers and burnout, especially again if you're a communicative person and you have a lot of that I have to communicate through emails. I have to communicate my personal relationships through text messages, and trying to convey love and affection to my people all day. And then I have to go and be in a different mindset to convey like really strict and professional emails to all these people. It's a lot of communication going on that can lead to extreme burnout before you even realize it. And if I'm a very social person, and a lot of the women I know who are social and that I've coached feel this way. We just don't have a bracket to when we can kind of stop communicating, stop delegating. So again, taking that time back. Some people can just be text, and again, some people need those professional emails and need details. Some people need, like I said, the smaller people in your life, the kids, the family members, younger relatives. They may need that quality time with you. You need to delegate space and stuff when you have that time to give them. It's a lot more communication than maybe the average human had to do 20, 30 years ago. So we have to understand that, especially as entrepreneurs, especially as powerful, amazing, abundant people that have a lot to give, is how do I take my communication, make it concise, figure out where I'm delegating my energy as well. What's going to give me the best energy back? What's going to give me the best results at the end of my day, at the end of my week? Some people, again, some messages can be text and just sent out there. You don't have to put so much energy into those. But if you consistently are exhausting yourself socially, it does burn you out. And just kind of taking a step back and understanding how you can not be that person. So that's what we're going to look at. How to delegate your communication effectively. How not to over communicate certain things and get burnt out. Again, like I said, a lot of women were put in this position where we have to communicate effectively for everything and everyone, and it's just not acceptable. It's not acceptable because, again, we have emails, we have texts, we have so many ways you can reach a person or a particular project where you don't always have to be specifically on the phone. Unless your career is you're specifically doing calls, and in your family life you specifically have to delegate every single thing. You have to find an effective way to do that that's concise. Because again, the burnout and the trigger is coming from you sometimes overly managing, overly communicating. And then, sadly, the result may not come through that you're looking for. And then you're having triggers about how you're communicating. As soon as you open your mouth, you start to have a trigger about, well, is this person hearing me? Or is this thing going to get done the way I need it to get done? Oh, maybe I should just do it myself. So we get all these different anxieties of just communicating with ourselves, and so we need to make sure that when we're ready to communicate with people, it's concise. One of the things I've done is I make like pre-made messages, which is so cool. I learned that from like dating apps, honestly, like dating apps and like the little when you're on these type of Instagram and certain things, you just have these pre-made messages that maybe you guys could do a Q&A, you see that. So I've started to make my own pre-made messages for different projects and things. It's not the same as an email. It's more of a, like, even sometimes the Canva is a beautiful message like, hey, how are you doing? I wanted to follow up with this project, or this is really beautiful. I really loved your work. Thank you so much for letting me view it, blah, blah, blah. Whatever it is. And certain things that I feel that are personal for me, that I like to send out to people, or that I want to see communicating with my kids, because my kids get really busy during the summer and they go on with family. I've learned to send batch content, like I'll batch a couple of small videos for my kids, which is something I do as a mother, and just telling them I love them, or just different little things that I've seen. I'll batch it real quick, takes me no more than 20 minutes, and they'll have it for like the month. So they have their own like actual accounts with me, and they can see me virtually whenever we're busy. So that's something you can do to delegate your time and your communication. You can batch content, batch emails, batch replied messages, please, like a couple of them that you typically reply that are maybe a little bit more a nice size. Like if you have to reply about a certain product that you always are having reviews on, you have to create like a little bit more of an intimate reply for those particular people. I feel like that will give you more momentum. You don't have to always communicate that or think, okay, well, sometimes when I do our features for our e-magazine and such, we do our feature Woman of the Month. I started to, again, make sure I create a certain email, a certain platform, a certain feedback, and make sure they have all the links and everything they need so they can get back to me if they need to, but also just genuinely giving them a message. Sometimes I'll send, like, again, I have a video message that I've pre-made and I've batch content. Well, I'll send them and be like, hey, thank you for being featured. I really appreciate your story, da 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 da. And it's a genuine message because I love it. I love seeing their stories. So it just kind of gives me time, a few more minutes back in my life, so I don't have to do everything every week, every second, over and over again. The other time management thing I've done for myself personally, and just activating my self-care and helping myself with not being so triggered and burnt out, is I have purchased my kids a cell phone again, because Lord knows my daughter keeps breaking hers. But that was their id gift, and that's been a big help for me. Like, I didn't want the cell phone situation for a while. It's like, oh, I don't want them having phones again. I want to make sure I monitor, da da da. And it's like, okay, they're here half the time. If they're not here, they're with their family or their extended family, and they do have to travel. So it is a big step for me letting go and just kind of like getting them their independence. But again, it allows me so much. Like right now, they're probably about to text me what they're doing. I can video chat with them. I don't have to wait for someone to answer their phone to talk to them. I don't like that when it comes to my older kids. I'm very serious about being able to communicate with them whenever they need me. So again, they know when to text me. They know when they can video call. They basically know everything, and they know how to update their phone. They're on a prepaid plan, how to do that. I've taught them all that. And it also allows me to monitor things like their external Islamic classes they're going to be doing online, like little videos and such. I have sent them, and things they have to do, updates, and also just like when we game together. So it's given me some time back to my time management and how I need to feel, how like confident as a mother. It gave me time and space with them this last few weeks, as I got to get to see like game with them. So that's something they always want to do with me, and I work on this phone primarily, so my phone is usually taken for work, right? And when they're gaming and they're physically here at home, what I've noticed is that of course I'm taking care of them. I might be cooking for them or taking care of a toddler or running around the house, so they always want to game with me. So that gave them a little bit more time to game. And we also downloaded like a few little like language apps and stuff like that, so we can keep up with each other whenever we're physically in the house together or apart. So it just gives a little bit more, another avenue of communication, like I said, and it gives them something they're happy to do. It's something I'm happy to do. At the end of the day, I'm like, hey, you guys can text me emojis and weird memes all day long. So that gives them a little bit, feels like in their world that they're far more, I guess, more connected to me than when they don't have their cell phones. So you just look and see how you can delegate and get these things out of your life that are difficult. I always say I use technology in moderation, but make sure you're using it and take care of what you need to communicate so that it's effective. It's a lot easier for me to communicate with my two kids, I always tell my family this, than any of my family. And I'm very direct, but sometimes the adults are a lot harder for you to just get through. So when my kids are anywhere without me, the phone made it 10 times easier for me to communicate with them, and then go back and delegate a message to maybe one of the adults, because my kids are going to go straight and do what I told them to do. If I say this or tell somebody this, it's easier for them to go ahead and take care of that than it is for sometimes the elders in my family when I talk and like overly communicate things that don't need to be communicated. That's basically what it boils down to. So find your triggers, identify them, definitely take an account how much you're taking to communicate to people, how much energy you're taking. If you're introvert, extrovert, both of these recipes apply to both sets of people. You definitely want to know how much you're communicating. Some people who are introverted can communicate easier and we're in a workspace because they're using their work identity, and then they might get burnt out in a personal space communicating. Whereas some people who are like me, we do a lot at work, we do a lot for the community, we like to engage, so that burns us out sometimes. In our personal life, we like to just kind of sit back, relax, and we don't like to communicate as much in our personal life. We want people to just get it. So inshallah, this is beneficial. As always, Fashion by Faith Iman is here for you. We have complete virtual coaching. All products and services have been updated on our brand new website. Hey. And I'm excited for our motivational meetups, which is every second Sunday. If you're local in Houston, it's going to be on a Richmond Strip at Cafe Lael, the main Cafe Lael, the creperie. As for now, and it's a 2-hour meetup, so it's really quick. We get to engage and talk about our personal development, meet other women who are like-minded. We get to understand each other and just talk about our burnout. We have live activities there, live coaching, live fashion, everything is there. And of course we have light catering, and it's just wonderful. I can't wait to see you guys there. The tickets will be on the website. You guys can go ahead and check that out. Thank you so much. We're going to be doing our last part of this series and discussing how to stay motivated. Inshallah. Assalamu alaikum.